That was like a total dad joke. Sad. All right, you guys, welcome. Today I am talking about using social media in education. Why are we talking about that? Well, it's a big trend, and I love to find trends and apply them to business. So today we are looking at using social media for educational purposes and how the education system is doing, and then how we can apply that to business trends. So it'll be fun and at least interesting, and hey, maybe we'll learn something. All right, join me on the inside. All right, so if you are new here, I am Jen Neal, and I own Formula Done, and I created the content activation method, which all that means is that we help businesses find leads and traffic online using the content and voice that you have already created. If any of those things sound interesting, make sure you check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. If you like the channel, hit the subscribe button. Love to have a new subscriber. And otherwise, just keep checking back, and you can check out our blog at Formula Done and read all that you would love. So thanks for playing. Let's dive in to talk about the use of social media in education and what that is doing. So here's the deal. I'm totally going to share with you guys. We as a team, we actually look at content that people are searching for. So when I started researching, I found out that this is a huge hot topic. So then that just made me be like, I'm totally going to dive into this and figure this thing out. Because what's really interesting is, I don't know if anybody else wants to make this correlation, but I will. So a lot of times our clients or customers in business, I feel a lot are like children. And so we're constantly trying to like corral them into one area or move them from one thing to the next, getting them to take action and stuff. So I figured, hey, if we're talking about how to educate students for the education system, like, shouldn't that be able to correlate to educating customers and prospects? And are there some same lessons that we can kind of find in there? So I'm going to share with you the research that I found on the usage of social media in education, and then kind of the correlation ties that I can make. So sound kind of good? Little off the wall, I know, but we'll have fun with it. Okay, the first question that kind of came up is, can social media actually be educational? Like, is there actually a place for it in the education system? And so I'm going to share with you what I found here. Social media allows students more freedom to connect and collaborate beyond the physical classroom, which means students anywhere can start to experience the globally connected world long before they may enter the workforce. So there's a lot of correlation here, and I think the key things that really matter for me when we're tying this to business concepts are more freedom to connect and collaborate beyond the physical whatever. Like, this is a thing that we've all been forced into as businesses, even more so with the whole pandemic thing, right? But so many people are on social media, and they want to feel like every individual on social media wants to feel like it's their platform. Like, they are in control of the content that they're being served up, which is adorable and cute because we know that that's actually not the truth. But they want to really feel like they are sort of controlling their own destiny, right? And I think that that's a thing that we can use in business. So let's see how they are tying all of this in here in education. All right, so what I did is I looked through, because clearly I'm not going to be on the like, hey, let's not use this for business. So I really focused in on what are the benefits that people have highlighted in terms of using social media in the classroom, so that I could really focus in on the specific tactics and then say, hey, can each of those translate, right? So we're going to start working through the tactic list here in terms of benefits. So technology for more engaged learning as a huge benefit, right? Which totally makes sense, because the technological world, as you guys know, has been growing and moving so quickly, especially kids. I know my niece and nephew know how to work a phone super, super well, right? So we're using that technology to be able to create a more engaged experience, which I think is amazing for students and also something we can probably adopt, right? So secondly, big benefit here that people call out is using a Facebook page to broadcast updates and alerts. I think that one is one that we have already been doing. But what I love is that they're talking about using it sort of as a digital billboard. So that's a good sort of example, I think, to keep in mind. Using a Facebook group to stream live lectures and host discussions. So this is also something that a lot of marketers have been doing, but using like a specific Facebook group, so you're controlling who is in there, and stream live lectures and host discussions. Like, we've been doing this with Zoom calls forever, right? And there's a lot of people who present a live show or a live streamed show that only shows up in Facebook groups. So I think that that's pretty awesome. Okay, so making a WhatsApp or Facebook group for the entire class. I think that that's a really interesting idea, and what this is doing is creating a sense of community. So you're going to social media to be part of a community and share your feelings and your thoughts and stuff like that, so you feel like you're connecting with other people. It's the whole point of social media, right? So creating a group for all of your paying customers, for VIP customers, VIP people at an event. Like, there's a cool way that we can definitely use to kind of create a sense of community there. You know what? A couple people have this business model where it's like, hey, I'm going to send you my printed newsletter once a month. It's $100 a month. You get the printed newsletter and you get access to our private WhatsApp group. So the reason I bought was because of the WhatsApp group, because it gave me like one-on-one access. Now, have I ever used it? No. But it did give me the one-on-one access, right? Okay. Making use of Instagram for visual learning. So this one was interesting, and I think if you tie this into traditional Instagram, especially when we're doing carousels and things like that, like in terms of business, we're already trying to do that. But I was thinking about this from an educational standpoint, right? You could actually do a whole theme, like a whole block on Instagram, and like color it or something with a whole bunch of different carousels. So you're actually creating sort of a mini course right on Instagram. Could be a fun thing to do to get people to engage in your Instagram profile. It might be something that we even kind of look at testing and playing out. But I thought that was kind of a cool way to consider putting together bite-sized pieces of information and making it visual. All right, using video chat tools like Skype or Zoom. Duh, like we've already mastered that. Psh, those darn kids, they can't even, yeah, we're way ahead of them. That's like the only time that's ever going to be said, right? Okay, using Twitter as a class message board. This one I thought was very interesting. So the whole setting up hashtags for conversations that you're having. That's true. If you're sending things out on Twitter, it's super short, simple things, and then all you have to do is just apply a hashtag so that's part of the same discussion, right? And so I was like, oh, that could be kind of fun, even for some sort of like an Easter egg hunt or, you know, some sort of social scavenger hunt surprise thing. I don't know. That's just kind of where my brain went. I thought could be kind of fun. And also, of course, if you're talking about some like hot topic, then that would be a great place to share that, especially with that hashtag, because then you're going to grab other people who are curious and interested about coming in. Okay, let's see. Creating a class blog for discussions. I really love this idea, and those of you guys who are following me here, you know that I am a big fan of blogs anyway, but you could literally feature from business one blog that you pointed people to, right? And then it specifically gave kudos or mentions or whatever in the comments, and actually have people engage with comments on one particular blog. Now that would actually help your SEO volume, but also you could put the same context, right? Wrapping the context around your people. Anyway, it's a cool idea. I think it's a very good idea. Okay, creating a class-specific Pinterest board. So much like they were talking about on Instagram, is that you could do a Pinterest board, but instead of it having to be like organized content laid out in a certain way, course-like, right? The Pinterest board could be more like other people you could make it where they could add to the board. So it's just everybody's kind of collaborating using that user-generated content, kind of create everything onto one board. I like even the idea of possibly doing like a shared vision board, even with customers, you know, just create engagement through like, okay, what's your why? Why are you doing business, right? What are your why things? And we're just going to create like a huge Pinterest board that's like the entrepreneurial Pinterest board, right? Fun! Okay, LinkedIn or building networks. Of course, we obviously know all about that. And there's some really great social networks LinkedIn, I know, is doing quite a lot. TikTok, there's a lot of people. Clubhouse, awesome community engagement there. So like there's a lot of other social channels that are building networks and creating communities. And I think that that's key. And I think something that maybe some of us could be missing out on. I think we're a little surface level. Okay. On your website, sharing social media links. So what they're talking about here is school events and photos and stuff on the website. And I love that idea for business as we kind of flip those things around, right? Those could be events, those could be backstage at the office, those could be behind the scenes when you're getting ready to do a Zoom call, any of those kinds of things, right? And then creating interest-based Facebook groups, which, hello, nailed it, right? Like that's what we were already doing. So there are a bunch of ways, as we saw, and I just highlighted a few of the benefits that have been called out in some of the research. And the question there is, does social media have a place in the classroom? And I think from my perspective, I think that there's more of a sense of community. And to me, I think that that's super, super important. But I think it's also important not only for students, but also for prospects and clients. And so that's why I thought this was such an important lesson to kind of make the correlation and look at what are the things that they're doing? How are they bringing people together to learn and grow together? And being able to take those same tactics for us in business, right? So I'm curious, you guys, who is already doing some of these things? Or have you found other ways to create educational spaces for your prospects and customers using social media? So love to hear it. Add it in the comments below. If you like the video here, make sure you hit the like. Appreciate it. All right. I think that if we kind of step back here and look at the overall advantages and disadvantages of social media in the education system. So advantages are giving students a platform for open collaboration, which again, we're creating that sense of community, that students feel free to express their opinions or views or ask questions, which again, kind of seems to make such an amazing correlation straight to business, right? And often collaboration between tutors and peers is better on social media than in person. How many times have we seen that as well? The benefit to that is that they find more voice. They find more courage to ask the questions that they wouldn't in person. And I think that that's universal, not just in education. All right, disadvantages of social media. We're named as it's easy to get distracted. Duh. When social media is used for education, one should know that students face a difficulty in maintaining their attention span. I think that that is not just students. We should just delete that out and be like, people, prospects, customers. This is a disadvantage for all of us, right? Social media platforms are a sea of content. That is so true. We've talked about like how you need to stand out. And with all that kind of exposure, students might get distracted into content that is not academic. Absolutely true, because you're on there to socialize and have fun and like squirrel, right? Oh, what's my friend doing? So this is the same thing that we're running into for business, right? Same pros, same cons. And so I think for my opinion, the way that we pull people across is by upping our game in terms of creating that collaboration space, creating that community space where I love some of the ideas of like the blog, the Facebook group, right? The Instagram board or the Pinterest board. Some of those things really speak to me in terms of creating a space where people can be creative and still socially engaged and having fun, but we're creating a like-minded community. And I think that communities in the face of business, those will carry on. And those are the things that persist and that people feel like joining, right? So there really are so many correlations between like, how do we keep people on track and on focus to be able to deliver them our message? So from a business standpoint, we're talking about how are we going to educate our prospects to the point where they go from being problem aware to being solution aware and you're the solution, right? So I think that there's a lot of lessons and correlations here and ways that we can kind of up our social game. So if you guys find any other ones or things that your kids are doing in their own social media stuff for schools, I'd love to hear if there's some other ideas. But I really do think that a lot of these things can correlate straight across. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it today. But I think there's some really great ideas in here. I would love to test some of these ideas out or see how you guys are using them. So if you're curious about some of the tests or things that we are doing and how we are using content to engage our customers, make sure you check out formuladone.com or just go to our Facebook page there and hit us up in the chat. I actually do personally answer the messages, so Love to hear some of your thoughts. Anyway, hope that you guys are having an amazing day, and I will see you on the next Content Toolbox episode.